Bodies, and this is the Bodies in Business podcast. The two favorite things I love talking about and I love learning about are the body and business. I truly believe that taking care of your body will help you in any business that you are working in or working on. And over time, if you have a well oiled machine as your body, you will learn, you will grow, you will have a great time in business if you're able to stay healthy enough to stay in the game. So, in this video, I'm going to jump into 3 videos that I watched or I have watched about the body, and I'm going to link these videos in the description below. And then there's going to be 3 videos about business, and then also we'll get into some pop culture. But I always learn from either YouTube, podcasts, or reading books or listening to things, and I think it's super helpful to just continuously learn. And so this is I'm imparting the knowledge that I get and I think is helpful in order for you guys to take that and run with it and, honestly, apply it to your life so that you can crush the business game too, crush the body and the business game. So let's jump into it. So the first video is going to be about dopamine. It is Dr. Anna Lembke, and she did an interview with Andrew Huberman on the Huberman Lab podcast like 2 or 3 years ago at this point. It was podcast number 33. So he's done a ton of them so far. So I highly recommend, and I will say that probably a million times, but I highly recommend going to watch the entire video. But this podcast, Dr. Anna Lembke and Andrew Huberman did, was all about dopamine. And I believe that dopamine is a driving force for why we stay motivated to either keep our bodies healthy and keep our businesses healthy. And when you understand your body from a neurological standpoint and why you do the things you do, it gives you clarity on why you need to continue working out, eating healthy, getting up, early enough to get the day started, getting sunlight, getting all these things, because dopamine is a main motivator for why we want to do things. It motivates us. So I'll give you an example, and I don't know if they said it in this, I'll talk about it in this video, but Dr. Huberman in one video, and I'm going to tell you why dopamine is so motivating, is because they did a test on rats, and basically they had a rat sit next to a feeding tube and eat from the feeding tube, and they took dopamine. Or sorry, let me start over. They took a rat and they took away their dopamine receptors. Okay, nullified their dopamine receptors, and put the rat near a feeding tube, and the rat would eat. And so it was like, oh well, that's interesting. We figured that the rat wouldn't eat if it didn't feel any pleasure from the dopamine receptors that it didn't have anymore. So then they moved the rat one rat's length away from the food, and it didn't move. Okay. So dopamine is really the motivator for us to move and do things and strive to go get things that we want. And so Dr. Anna Lembke talked about a few things in this episode of her and Dr. Huberman. And one of the things that I think was very helpful is if you are feeling like you are in dopamine overload, like you're being stimulated all the time, it's hard for you to stay focused. It's hard for you to feel maybe you're feeling like you're addicted to either games or a certain type of food or doing some activity. She recommends taking a 30-day break from doing that specific thing. And they go into it in the video or in the podcast, but I think that's super helpful, is to take a 30-day break from whatever you're doing that you feel that you're addicted to. Because I see that as something that is super helpful when it comes to saying that you don't necessarily need something in order to live, unless it's oxygen, water, and stuff like this. But obviously, watch the video, and this portion of it, it's at minute 50. And she goes into why she thinks taking a 30-day break from something is super helpful to reset your dopamine receptors. But essentially she's like, in the beginning, that first week, maybe that second week, you're going to feel like crap. You're going to feel like, oh man, I just feel down. I feel depressed. But then as you get on day or week 3, week 4, you start to feel better, and your body starts to create dopamine in other ways than just doing that specific thing that you may have been addicted to. So she goes into what dopamine is, how it can affect us, to how much how too much dopamine can not be great for us, right? In the world that she wrote a book called Dopamine Nation. Highly recommend reading that too, or listening to it on Audible. But I highly recommend going to listen to that whole video. And if you feel like you need to take a break from something for 30 days, I promise you, depending on what it is, it'll probably be helpful. All right, so that's the first video. The next video is going to be how to learn skills faster for the Huberman Lab podcast. And so, as you can see, there's a theme here sometimes with the Huberman Lab podcast, but how to learn things faster. So as we are going through this world, a lot of times we're trying different diets, we're trying different workouts, we're trying, to wake up earlier, to do cold plunge, to do all these things. And we want to be able to learn as fast as we can when it comes to this stuff, and also take in information and learn for business, because we want to be able to adapt to what's going on in the world. All right. And in this episode, how to learn things faster, he actually broke it down to 30 something minute session, because it was like a 2 or 3 hour long podcast. He said it's not about the hours, but about the repetitions, not just, doing the work, but doing very, very meaningful repetitions. Okay. There was a study that was done, and he explains this in the video, that basically kids that were told that doesn't work, please try again, were way more prone to trying more reps than kids that said, you lost 5 points, please continue. So it was interesting, because it's all about, hey, what you didn't work, try again, was way more effective than saying you lost something and then please continue. So it's interesting, like psychologically, because you would think like, oh, if I lost something, I'd be more prone to want to get it back. But what they found was that if you just say like, okay, that wasn't the right answer, try again, that was more helpful than saying if you lost something. I don't know if that helps reframe that, just being able to get those repetitions in, but learning is just understanding what works and what doesn't work, and then trying something the next time. All right. And basically what Andrew Huberman has said in this podcast is, the faster and the more quality reps we can get in, the faster we're going to learn how to do something the best we can, right? Most people think like, oh, like that person must have been like Tiger Woods must have had a perfect golf swing right when he was born. Not true. Michael Jordan must have been able to shoot a basketball perfectly when he was, as an elementary schooler. Not true. Repetitions are the gold when it comes to learning stuff. And then the last thing I'll say on this video, the third thing was, he mentioned that it's important to give your mind a rest when you are trying to learn something faster. So if you do something for an hour, hour and a half, he said that it's a protocol that you can take 5 to 10 minutes of just immediate just rest. Close your eyes, let your brain actually process what you've been doing, because when you think your brain is just resting, it's actually what he says, rehearsing the stuff that you just learned. So it's like filing those memories that you just did, whether it's shooting a basketball or reading a book or learning something in school, and it is actually filing away that stuff in your brain. So that is something that I need to do more of, and that I took from this video is, when you are trying to learn something faster, you need to give yourself a 5 to 10 minute break right after to relax and just kind of go into like almost a meditative state. Maybe lay down, maybe sit there, close your eyes, and just relax for 5 and 10 minutes. Okay. Try that. I'm going to try it going forward, because I think it's really, really helpful. When you kind of figure something out where it's like, oh, I need to give my body and mind some time to rest and relax before going into the next thing, so that I can understand what I just did. Okay. It makes sense. And then the third video was, gosh, man, I didn't realize I'm going back in these notes, was another Andrew Huberman podcast, but it was with Dr. Layne Norton. And this was done about 2 years ago, where they did a huge deep dive into nutrition. And if you have time, it's like 3 hours, 3.5 hours long. Listen to the whole thing, because it has just gold everywhere in that podcast. But one of the things that I think is the most helpful is the portion about gut health. And when he actually talked about the 3 things, he said there's 3 things that help with gut health the most. One is not over consuming calories. Okay. Two is exercise. And the last one is fiber. So our gut health is a really good determiner of our overall health, our skin, how we feel, our bowel movements, all these things. And he really does a deep dive into fiber because he says that if you want a longevity hack, fiber is a kind of longevity hack. A recent large meta-analysis over 100 million subjects showed that for every 10 grams of increased in fiber, there was a 10% reduction in the risk of mortality, which is incredible. You know, we focus on protein, we focus on not eating carbs sometimes, we focus on all these things, whereas it's fun to be able to focus on things that can really improve your life, that you can say, okay, I can add a couple, maybe 5 or 10 more grams of fiber into my life. And what are those actual sources of fiber? You know, we can add them into your breakfast, lunch, and dinner and those types of things. I think that's so cool. And so one thing he did mention in the video was that, you know, you can only tolerate so much fiber before you're, you know, using the bathroom probably all the time, or you can't work out, or, you know, it's uncomfortable. So find that sweet spot of the amount of fiber that you can eat in a day. The American Heart Association recommends, or a organization recommends, around 25 to like 35 grams of fiber, I believe, per day. Right now, the average American adult gets about 10 to 15 grams of fiber in per day. And I want to say that's probably because we eat so many things that are very palatable and very good tasting, and the fiber's been taken out of it. And so a lot of foods just don't have much fiber in them at all, or people have tried to add in a little bit of fiber. But essentially that there's having no fiber in the food makes you digest it faster and want to eat more food. The fiber actually helps slow down digestion. So that's something to be aware of, is the more just whole foods you can eat, because a lot of whole foods, vegetables, grains, fruits have fiber in them, and eating the whole thing, the whole fruit, whole vegetable, whole grain, is going to give you that ample amount of fiber and keep you full. Honestly, like for me, I have a pretty good, you know, bowel movement, but I look at my meals and I eat a ton of fiber, and it feels good when I feel full. And you know, and knowing that every 10 grams that you eat is 10% reduction in risk of mortality. It's pretty cool to learn that, right? So you know, you want to shoot for 40 grams of fiber if you can. Break it up into breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Some good sources I eat for my breakfast are potatoes, avocado, some nuts, some almonds, some cashews. And then I also have oats every now and then with berries and some nuts. And then for lunch, you know, brown rice, black beans, and some type of protein, maybe some carrots, some broccoli. And then for dinner, having the same thing, like having some type of vegetable, and then some good protein with that as well. And if you eat like, you know, 10 to 15 grams of protein at each meal, you're going to get in 30 to 40 grams of protein. And also, one thing he mentioned is a good rule of thumb is for every 1,000 calories you eat, you should have at least 10 grams of protein. Okay. So for every 1,000 calories you eat, it's 10 grams of fiber. All right. So if you're eating 2,000 calories, you should get at least 10 grams of fiber in 20 grams with that 2,000 calories. I get it. I need people to like slow me down sometimes. Anyways, so yeah, I think he said 10. I'll have to check and see. Maybe check my notes, but because I don't want to get that wrong. It might have been 15 grams. Hold on, let me double check. Oh man. Anyways, I'll get back to you. It's like 10 to 15 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories. All right, and it might have been 15. I think it's 15. Geez, I'll have to double check now. So that is the Bods portion of it. I'll put those 3 videos up. Super helpful. And then, you know, you can try to implement that where you want to. Now onto the business side of the house. All right. And this is where I get excited, because I'm running Fly Bodies. I'm still trying to learn as much as I can every day about business and what we can implement to make our company better each and every day. And so whenever I hear something about business that I'm just like, man, that's super helpful, I try to take a note and write this stuff down. So the first the first podcast was Lenny's podcast, and it's How to Win the AI Era with Lenny's podcast. And it was with, I'm gonna give you 2 seconds. Oh man, it doesn't have his name. Anyways, I'll put the link down below. But it's Gaurav Misra, co-founder and CEO of Captions. Okay. The first thing that I took away from this video was a 3-step building process of product. Okay. When I identify a user's problem, some people might be like, I already know this, but this is for, it's always good to go back to the basics if you're trying to build a product that's going to be helpful. Identify a user's problem, number 1. Apply a technology to solve the problem. And then number 3 is find a mechanism to find the people that have that problem. And if you break it down into those 3 simple steps, it makes life really easy. Obviously, you can do a billion different things to work those 3 things, but identifying the user's problem is super helpful because it gives you a clear vector on what you need to build. And you have to continuously ask what the user's problem is, because sometimes it takes a long time to get deeply rooted into what the actual problem is before you can build a product that is super helpful. All right. So those 3 things, those 3 steps, always fall back on those. The second thing from this video was aim to ship a marketable product every week. And I took this to heart because I think a lot of times there's 2 things. One thing when we're building FlyFit, a lot of times we've tried to build very, very small features to be able to done in a week. And it's been super helpful for us to be iterative when our building process, but also really, really honing in on what feature is the top priority and how can we get that minimal viable product with that top feature in a week. And so this strips away trying to get very, very, intricate with building certain features and saying, I'm going to build something that is going to be effective and also wanted by the user by the end of the week. And what he has said in this is that our technology these days with different types of AI tools have made it very, very plausible for people, or it made it very reasonable for people to be able to build something that is a very effective marketable product each week within some type of product. So with FlyFit, I'll give you an example. Being able to send workouts as a trainer. Our creating workout system is not by any means the sexiest thing you've ever seen. But if you go back, it will be something that we literally built out and we shipped in a week because it was something that we knew would be super helpful. And so we have honestly taken longer to build certain features in FlyFit, but for the most part, we've stuck to that 1 week cadence that we're going to have something that's going to be effectively put into the app. And honestly, hearing this person talk about it, it makes me want to really reframe what we're building, or like rethink what we're building each week and be like, okay, let me hone in on what's going to be the most effective thing we can build in a week. And then how can we iterate off that? All right. So that's super helpful. The last thing last thing for this video was he talked about the CEO of Snapchat. And he said that the CEO of Snapchat has an unmatched understanding of the user. And that goes back to the first thing we talked about in this video is identifying the user's problem. And as a CEO, or as someone who's leading the charge, running the ship, steering the ship, you have to understand what the user wants in order to point the ship in the right direction so that you can build in that way. And I think for me, this hits home for me because I still do workouts with our clients at our schools. I still run challenges, and I still try to understand exactly what the user wants. And it gives me the best understanding to put the features in FlyFit and also do things within challenges and workouts that I normally wouldn't do if I was just hiring a trainer or hiring somebody to run the challenges. So I think it's super important to be, and Gary Vee, I think, says this, is be as close to the user as possible, because they're going to give you the problem that they're having, and then you can build towards that. So usually you want, as you get in a bigger spot, you get further and further away from the user. but try your best, and I'm going to try my best to stay as connected to the user as possible so that I can understand what they're going to want and what they're going to use. Okay. So that's the first video in business. The next video was super fun. I highly recommend going to watch this. This is Alex Hormozi interviewed the CEO of ButcherBox. And the story is honestly really fun to hear because I think they started in 2015. It's 2025, so it's been 10 years, and they have over 500 or $600 million year over year sales for ButcherBox. And that's a lot of bacon, a lot of meat. But the once again, the three things that I'm going to talk about in this, great video. They really just kind of have a great conversation about this. But the three things that I took away was when he was trying to accelerate ButcherBox's growth, he hired the former head of operations from Omaha Steaks. Okay. And the reason why he did this was because this guy had already gone through the rigmarole of scaling Omaha Steaks and understanding exactly what kind of costs he could cut in order, or distributors and people that he could reach out to in order to build the best product for ButcherBox. So this was something that they talk about, like consulting. If somebody has already lived the life of running a meat company and did it successfully, he said he pulled this guy out of retirement. Then you're going to want to reach out to that person. You're going to want to say, hey, like, do you mind, consulting for us or coming to work for us, and we'll pay you, or we'll give you equity and stuff like that, because it's going to accelerate your business. Right. So like for me, for Fly Bodies, getting into the insurance world, right? Like there's a few of my contacts that I have really tried to make basically friends of mine now to understand how the insurance world works. And it's been super helpful because I've learned so much about how wellness dollars work, how, clients of theirs operate. And honestly, it has saved me, hours upon hours of trying to learn about the health insurance industry. So that's the first thing, is like try to hire, not at the very beginning, but hire somebody that has done the thing you're doing or has done it in the same space. And so you accelerate your business that way. Now, I'm not going to say it's always going to work because, there are some nuances about certain businesses, and you always want to be careful about saying like, oh, this is going to be the exact same thing, but can be super helpful. The next thing, he talked about hiring influencers to be ambassadors for their product, or just to, shout out their product. And the person he said that was the first person that actually they reached out to be an influencer was Chris Kresser. And I remember reading stuff about Chris Kresser back in 2014, 2015. And he wrote a book called The Paleo Code, Your Personal Paleo Code, which I highly recommend. I don't know if I'm ever going to stop saying I highly recommend, but maybe you guys can help me try to stop that if you don't like it. Chris Kresser said that he was like, you need to eat grass-fed beef, and that was ButcherBox's whole thing was, we ship grass-fed beef straight to your door. And so Chris Kresser actually shouted ButcherBox out without them even asking him to, because Chris was like, oh, I just think this is a great company. And when they heard about that, they reached out to him and said, hey, we can give you an affiliate link, and for every person that you bring to the ButcherBox, we'll give you a certain percentage of the revenue. And I think they said it was like $10 a box or something like that, and it would be $10 per person as they stayed on, which is really cool. And so that was the first time influencer marketing was really a thing, where it's like, since we have social media, you can really dive into that influencer marketing. And I think Fly Bodies, we haven't done that as much right now. I mean, we've tried over the years to have people kind of like shout us out and stuff like that. But I think it's something, hopefully, over time we'll find good niches for people to be able to shout us out. And we'll have a good, this just made me realize, man, influencers have such a big impact on how much your business can grow. And so when they found out Chris Kresser did, they reached out to a ton of different influencers, and that's what really helped the business grow. And then the last thing from this video, there's, like I said, go watch the whole thing. It's got a ton of good information. But the last thing was they used an onboarding thing. I'll just say free bacon, right? They said, like, the CEO was basically like, bacon grew our business. Bacon made our business explode. And what they did was, for every sign up, for every person who signed up, they got free bacon. And this just was a perk that you threw, that people just enjoyed. It was just something that people were like, oh, I get to sign up, I get free bacon. That's cool. And then they said that there was like another offer that they did was free bacon for life. And I have to go in to see exactly what that offer is, but I want to say it was like $50 and you get free bacon for life if you continue to stay a member, right? Like, it's not just like, oh yeah, you get free bacon for life if you just have. No, you got to continue to stay a subscriber, and we'll give you free bacon for life. And those things, bacon's pretty cheap, and I'm not going to say that's great for your body, but as a tactic, as a tool, finding that one thing, and I'm trying to think of things that Flybodies could do. Maybe you guys could help me out. That we could say, like, hey, sign up and you get a free T-shirt, or sign up and you get something free. But it's definitely something that you can tap into and try to find that niche product or something that you can give away for free that will entice people to want to get on board and be a subscriber. So it has to be impactful, and still trying to think of something for Flybodies, obviously. And then, this is a bonus one. The fourth one that he said, whenever you're starting a business and there's only like a couple people, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 people, he said, think of it as you have a machete and you're hacking through the jungle, and you're just trying to find out like the easiest way to get through the jungle. And literally you're just, every step you take, you find something new and you're like, oh, we got to deal with this. What he said was, you want somebody that's going to hack through the jungle with you. Not somebody that is like, hey, I do this specific job, I pick up coconuts and that's all I do. No, you want somebody that's going to get in there and hack through the jungle with you, and that's willing to do marketing, do sales, create product, be design, do anything and everything that is needed to grow the business in the beginning just to get it going. And so I think that was something that I really took to heart was, you want versatile, adaptable people that are willing to do anything. And he said that was something that was really helpful for him starting out with ButcherBox. All right, so the last video is going to be Lenny's podcast, another Lenny's podcast. There's a theme. I have certain people that I like listening to, but this is called The Superhuman Secret to Success. And it was a conversation that Lenny had with Rahul Vohra, the CEO and founder of Superhuman. And there's a couple things. I have 3 things from this podcast that they basically have created an email service product that helps people make their lives more streamlined. All right. Email sounds super boring, but they've tried to make it very interesting. So, what's the secret to virality? That was one of the first questions Lenny asked Rahul, and he said word of mouth. Okay. He was like, they've done the studies, they've looked at the statistics. Word of mouth is the best virality tool out there. And if you can get people talking about your product and convincing people to use your product, that's the most viral thing that you can do. Obviously, there's been, viral products that just absolutely go through the roof, like ChatGPT, but you've probably heard about it from somebody. But something that is super sticky is going to be word of mouth, because you hear it from somebody that you trust, especially in today's world when people are trying to sell everything and anything. Hearing something from a human being and saying, oh, I really trust this product, you should too. And if it's friend or family member, going to be super helpful. So word of mouth. That was the first thing I took away from this pod. The next thing, onboarding strategy. So some people are going to want to do their onboarding by themselves, and they're like super savvy, and they're like, oh yeah, I got this. I want to do this on my own. Other people are going to have to be handheld. There's going to be some holding of the hands. when you onboard people. So you may want, so when I'm thinking about this, we're going to be doing mileage challenges for companies, for their customers. And some customers are going to be able to download FlyFit and easily log into the app and do all that stuff. Other people are going to need to be like walked through the process step by step. And you're going to have two different avenues so you can get both of those people, because sometimes the barrier to entry is just a person that just doesn't feel super savvy about doing something as well, as opposed to somebody else who's like, I got this on my own. One thing they talked about in Superhuman is, I think he said the first 2,000 people they onboarded, like handheld them through the process. And one, that's probably good. So you want to understand what people find easy about the onboarding process, or what people have questions about and stuff like that. But as you go, you can probably figure out ways to streamline this process. And he says now they actually have, like, you can do it yourself onboarding, but in the beginning, onboarding people with each person is super helpful. All right. And then the last thing from this video was the single decisive reason, SDR. And this was very helpful for me when it comes to making certain decisions, because there should be like a single reason why you are doing this. When you tear away all the extra fluff of like, oh, this could help this could help this could help this, there should be one reason why, like the core reason why you are making a certain feature or a certain project or a certain decision. And that reason should resonate with everyone, or you should be able to explain that reason very, very easily. And then it gives everybody confidence that we're doing the thing for the right reason, right? If you can't hone in on that single reason, decisive reason, then you probably need to rethink what you're doing. And the thing I'll say about this is, like with FlyFit, a lot of times there's a lot of things I want to do, a lot of reasons or a lot of features that I think would be cool, and a lot of certain reasons I think, oh, it could do this, it could do this, it could do this. But this is going to help me really hone in on, like, what's the specific reason why we're doing this specific feature. And if I can't figure that out, then maybe it's not helpful enough, or something I need to think about more. And so I think that's super helpful, because we have these, grand ideas. We have 10, 15, 20 reasons of why we want to do something, but it's like, no, what is the main reason? Why do we want to do this? It's like specifically, and that's going to guide how you build that feature or product, because then you'll get a better understanding of what's the core reason why you want to do it. All right. So those are I got to start taking breaks during this. It's brutal. Talking for 30 minutes straight is not easy. Anyways, so I want you to go watch those 6 videos. They're awesome. And you can watch these videos or listen to these videos while you're working out, while you're in the car, while you're cleaning the dishes, while you're doing laundry, while you're on a walk. I just gave you 5 ways that you can listen to videos. And the reason why you want to listen to these things is because we are constantly learning new things about our bodies and how good we can make our businesses. And if you're constantly learning those things, you can constantly take little nuggets of truth and try to apply them to both your body and your business. And if you do that for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it's inevitable that if you apply those things, you will probably be better than you would if you weren't listening and learning and doing these things. Okay. That's my main plug for doing this video, for having this podcast, is because those things are super helpful. And if you took, one thing out of this video, that's helpful for me, because I believe these things are super helpful when it comes to making my life better and making my business better. Pop culture bets. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, let's get into this a little bit. Sooner or later, I'm going to take questions, but I'll say winter is coming. Dark Ages at the Academy story. Oh, so let's see. Okay. This is a funny story. And the reason why I want to tell the story is because I was thinking about this is like, for the months of January to March are considered the dark ages at the Air Force Academy. And the reason why they're considered the dark ages is because it's super cold, it's snowy, it's like the middle of the semesters Yeah, it's the beginning of the second semester. You just got back from like a long Christmas break, probably. It's like, and if as a freshman, you're just like, man, this is going to be a long time before we reach recognition. And then at the prep school, you're just like, man, like I'm not even at the academy yet. I still got to go through this before I go there. And so we call these the dark ages. And it's from January to March, like I said. And during this time, and this is what I'll say about this is I would use that time to dive in and make yourself as best as possible, because once spring and summer and stuff that come, some people want to do things. People want to go have fun. People want to go on spring break. People want to go do fun things. And so take those times in the dark ages and just refine your craft. Absolutely become a beast in the gym. You learn as much as you can online and all these other things. But anyway, what I was going to tell you was there's a story, because we can all get kind of like burnt out, and we can all get in a position where we're like, oh, is it really worth it? When is the end going to come? When is spring break going to come? When's summer going to come? And I was the squadron commander of B squad at the prep school. No big deal. And it was literally like February or March timeframe, and I can't remember the exact date, but it was middle of the night, and I get a knock on my door, and it said, Alice, I think you need to come out here. And I was like, okay. I was like, and so I ended up, at first I was like, tell them to go back to sleep. I'm tired. Go back to sleep. Then I get another knock on the door, and I was going to say that I got up the first time, but I didn't. Then my AOC comes to the door and said, hey, Cadet Alice, Cadet Candidate Alice, you need to come out here. You need to come out here right now because we have an incident. Basically, some people were drinking in the dorms, and I come outside, and right away, the guy that was the room next to me, he was like blubbering, crying, because he was like, I messed up, I'm sorry, I messed up. And then I went up to this room with my AOC and my AOC Air Officer Commanding, and get up there. We opened the door, or the door probably was already open, and there was a guy laying on the ground. There was pill bottles everywhere. There was alcohol like bottles everywhere, and it just looked like the room had just been like destroyed. And my major shook this guy, and he woke up, and he like set up into like Indian style. And they said there was another guy that was missing. And so I'm only like 18 years old. I'm probably 19 at this point. And literally these people you can't drink in the dorms. You're not supposed to do anything. These people were drunk, high. They were all these things. There was hookah in the middle of the room. It was crazy. And, we were like, where's the other guy? They said the other guy took off. He actually ran outside. It was like super windy. It was super cold outside. And then eventually we had to go, like we sent a search party out for him. No one could find him. And then finally he was like banging on the door in the back of the thing. And like he came in, and he was super cold. But anyways, it was wild. It was wild because I was just like, these people just went crazy. These people went crazy because it was just the dark ages, and they were tired of being at the academy, and they ended up getting kicked out. But it was something where it was just like, oh my God, like people just start getting stir crazy between the months of January and March, because you're just like, I want some spring weather. I want some summer, and I'm about to go stir crazy. What I'll say to that is, and lesson learned is like, yeah, sometimes prep school is not for everybody. Get that. But also like there's light at the end of the tunnel. And a lot of times you have to like lean into the crappiness, because then it makes you appreciate the good times when there is time to have good time. So what I'll say is right now, the stock market's crashing. There's tariffs. There's everybody says they feel like they can't buy things, they can't do things, and a lot of things. There's wars going on. There's trade war with China. These things. A lot of times you have to just take a step back, and really focus on yourself and say, I'm going to make myself better. I'm going to make my company better, and I'm going to take this in stride, because this isn't going to be the last time this stuff happens. And if I really hone in and focus on myself, and I just put my nose to the grindstone and just say, you know what, we're going to crush it, and focus on that, instead of just going, oh no, like I need to just take a break, blah, blah, blah. Just bear down and figure out what you need to do. If you need to eat rice and beans for the next month or two as your main source of complete protein, do it. if you need to go to the gym for the next month or two and just, block out all the bad things that are happening and really focus on your business and your body, do it. But like, we are so short-sighted sometimes, and we forget that there will be a time where we come out of this and we want to be stronger, we want to be better, and we also want to learn from this so that the next time it comes around, we're prepared for it. So it was a good lesson learned for me to see something like that had happened, because I know that some people's breaking point, or some people just don't want to be there. And so we have to make sure we let people understand, like, hey, we're going to get through this. We're going to get past this. We're going to be better from this. Right. So that's the last thing I'll talk about. That's another reason why I make this podcast, is because I truly believe that the more that we make ourselves better each and every day and we learn, we can do better for the world. We can do better for ourselves, our family, our friends, and it'll just be helpful for everyone. So putting good things out in the world, be better in your environment. And that's the Bodies in Business podcast for this week. Hope you guys have a great week next week, and looking forward to seeing you next Sunday. Adios, amigos. Get after it.